The logbook was already open when I walked in. I'm not saying that like it's unusual. Night shift guys leave things messy all the time. But the last entry was written at 2:17. My shift starts at 2:30. There's not supposed to be anyone here between shifts. I work security at a small distribution warehouse outside the city. Just me, a desk, 12 camera feeds, and a logbook I'm required to update every hour. That's it. When I sat down, I checked the entry. All clear, no movement. Normal enough. Same thing I write every hour. But the handwriting wasn't familiar. We only have 3 guys on rotation. I know how both of them write. This wasn't either of them. I remember just staring at it for a few seconds, trying to convince myself I was overthinking it. Maybe someone covered a shift. Maybe management forgot to tell me. I flipped back a few pages. Same handwriting, entries every hour, going back at least a week. I stopped flipping. That didn't make sense. I've worked almost every night this week. There's no way someone else has been logging entries during my shifts. I checked the cameras. Everything looked normal. Loading bays empty, parking lot empty, office hallway empty. Still, I started my first round early. I grabbed the flashlight, walked the perimeter. Everything locked, nothing out of place. Same silence as always, just that low hum from the refrigeration units in the back. When I came back, I sat down and tried to ignore the logbook. At 3 o'clock, I made my entry. All clear. Right under the 2:17:1. Same phrase, different handwriting. I kept glancing at it. Something about it felt rehearsed. At 3:40, one of the cameras flickered, just for a second. Camera 6, rear loading dock. I leaned closer, nothing there. Then I rewound the feed. At exactly 3:38, there was a frame, just one, where something was off. The door at the dock. It looked slightly open, not wide, just enough to be wrong. I checked it live again, closed, locked. I told myself it was a glitch. Still, I grabbed the keys and went to check. The walk there felt longer than usual. The hallway lights buzzed overhead, one of them flickering every few seconds. When I reached the dock, the door was closed. I tested it. Locked. I stood there a bit longer than I needed to. Listening. Nothing. When I got back to the office, the logbook had moved. Just slightly. It wasn't where I left it on the desk. I know that sounds small, but when you sit in the same chair for hours, you notice things like that. I didn't remember touching it. I opened it again. There was a new entry, 3:45. My stomach dropped. Checked rear door, still locked. I hadn't written that. I hadn't even sat down yet. I looked at the cameras again, fast this time, switching through each one. Nothing. No one in the hallway, no one in the office, no one anywhere. But that entry, it was exactly what I had just done. Worded like I would have written it. I didn't write anything for 4 o'clock. I just sat there watching the screens. At 4:12, camera 3, main hallway, picked up movement. A figure, standing just at the edge of the frame. Not moving, just there. I zoomed in. He was wearing the same dark uniform I was, same jacket, same build. I didn't realize I was holding my breath until I saw it shift slightly, like it was adjusting its stance. Like it had been standing there for a while, watching. I got up slowly, didn't take my eyes off the monitor. The hallway camera didn't show the office door, so if it came closer, I wouldn't see it until it was already inside. I took a step back, then another. The chair behind me creaked when it moved. On the screen, the figure tilted its head just slightly, like it heard that. I didn't wait. I grabbed my keys and walked. Fast, but not running, straight out the side exit, didn't look back, didn't check the cameras again. I sat in my car with the engine running, watching the building. Nothing came out, nothing moved. After about 10 minutes, I convinced myself I was being paranoid. Maybe someone broke in, maybe I panicked. I went back inside. The office was empty, the logbook was open, a new entry, 4:20. Left the building, came back. Same handwriting. Under it, a second line. Messier, like it was written faster. He knows now. The break room light turned on by itself at 3:11. I remember the exact time because I'd just checked the cameras and leaned back in my chair, trying not to fall asleep. I work night shift at a hospital. Not medical staff, just maintenance. Mostly fixing small things, checking equipment, making sure nothing breaks overnight. The break room camera is one of the feeds I barely look at. It's just a table, a vending machine, a microwave that hums too loud. Nothing ever happens there. But that night, the light flicked on. No movement, no one walking in, just on. I stared at it for a few seconds, waiting to see if someone would follow. No one did. I told myself it was probably a timer or faulty wiring. Old building, old systems. Still, I got up to check. The hallway felt colder than usual. Hospitals at night always have that quiet, but this felt heavier, like the air didn't move. When I reached the break room, the light was on, door slightly open. I don't remember leaving it like that. I pushed it open with my foot. Nothing inside. Chairs tucked in, table clean. Vending machine humming like always. I stepped in, reached for the switch, and turned the light off. Then I stood there for a second longer than I needed to, listening. That's when I heard it. A soft click behind me. The light turned back on. I didn't touch the switch. I looked at it, still in the down position. I flipped it again. Off. Waited. Nothing. I laughed a little, quiet. Forced. Bad wiring, I said out loud, just to hear something human. I left the room. On my way back, I checked the camera feed again from the hallway monitor. At 3:17, I saw myself walking out of the break room. At 3:18, the light turned on again. But this time, the door slowly closed on its own. I froze. I didn't remember hearing it close. I went back. The door was shut now, all the way. I stood there, hand on the handle, debating whether to open it again. I did. The room was empty, light on. But the chairs weren't the same. One of them, just one, was slightly pulled out. I know it sounds small, but I hadn't touched anything before. I'm sure of that. I pushed the chair back in, turned the light off. And this time I left the door open when I walked away. When I got back to the main desk, I didn't sit right away. I kept watching the break room feed. At 3:26, something changed. Not movement, position. The chair I'd pushed in was pulled out again, slowly, across 3 frames, like someone was sitting down. I leaned closer to the screen, and there was nothing there, no shadow, no reflection, just the chair, moving. I muted the other feeds and turned up the audio on that camera, static. Then, a faint sound, like fabric shifting. And then something else, a breath, low, close to the microphone. I pushed back from the desk so fast the chair almost fell over. I didn't go back there. I stayed in the main office, watching the cameras until my shift ended. At 5:02, the break room light turned off, on its own, right before my replacement arrived. When he came in, I asked him if anyone had been using the break room earlier. He shook his head. Been empty all night, he said. Then he looked at me. Why? I hesitated, then I told him to check the camera. He did. Rewound it, watched the chair move. Didn't say anything for a while. Then he paused the footage at 3:26. Zoomed in on the table. There was something there I hadn't noticed. A reflection on the surface. Faint. Distorted, but clear enough. It looked like someone sitting in the chair, leaning forward, head slightly turned, like they were looking directly at the camera. He didn't rewind again. Just stood up slowly and said, "Yeah, I'm not staying in here tonight." I don't blame him, I didn't either, but the weird part is, when I checked my phone later that morning, there was a notification from the hospital system, a maintenance request, submitted at 3:27. From the break room, no description, just one line. "Light keeps turning off when I'm still here." The elevator opened on a floor that doesn't exist. I was inside when it happened. I work overnight, cleaning an office building, 18 floors, but after 10 p.m., it's just me and one security guard downstairs. Most of the floors are empty at night. Lights off, doors locked. I usually take the elevator up to the top and work my way down. That night, I pressed 18. The doors closed. It started going up. Normal. At 12, it slowed slightly. At 13, it stopped. That's not unusual either. Sometimes it pauses, even if no one's there, but the doors opened and the hallway was dark. Completely dark. No emergency lights, no exit signs. Nothing, just black. I leaned forward a little, trying to see. "Hello?" I said. My voice felt swallowed. No echo, no response. I checked the panel. There was no 13 button lit. I hadn't pressed it. The doors stayed open longer than usual, too long, like it was waiting. I hit the close door button. Nothing happened. I pressed it again. Still nothing. Then, the lights inside the elevator flickered once, just once. And in that moment, I thought I saw something in the hallway, not clearly, just a shape farther back. Too far to make out details. But it wasn't there before. The doors closed on their own. The elevator continued up. I didn't press anything else. When it reached 18, I stepped out fast. Didn't even look back. I told myself it was a lighting issue. Power outage on that floor. Something explainable. I tried to forget about it. Started cleaning. At 1:20, I needed to go down to 16. I took the stairs instead. At 2:05, I had to go back to the lobby. I didn't want to take the stairs all the way down, so I used the elevator again. I pressed L. The doors closed. It started descending. 17, 16, 15. Then it slowed. Stopped. Doors opened. Same floor. No number lit. Same darkness. This time I didn't lean forward. I stayed in the back corner of the elevator. I could feel my heartbeat in my throat. The doors stayed open. Longer than before, I didn't say anything, didn't move. Then a sound. Footsteps, soft, coming from the hallway, slow, getting closer. I hit the close door button repeatedly. Nothing. The footsteps kept coming, not rushing, just steady, like whoever it was knew I couldn't leave. I pressed every button on the panel. All of them lit up at once. Still nothing. The footsteps reached the entrance. Stopped. Right outside the door. I couldn't see anything, just darkness. Then, something shifted, like weight transferring, as if someone stepped just slightly into the light. The doors slammed shut. Hard. The elevator dropped. Not smoothly, like it skipped. My stomach flipped. The lights flickered again. When it stabilized, I was on the lobby. Doors opened immediately. The security guard looked up from his desk. "Everything okay?" he asked. I nodded. Didn't trust my voice. I left early that night. Next morning, I called building management. Asked about the 13th floor. They said there isn't one. They skipped from 12 to 14. I told them the elevator stopped there twice. There was a pause on the phone. Then the guy said, "That's not possible." I almost believed him until I checked my cleaning log later. There was a timestamp, 2:07, a note I don't remember writing. "Do not use elevator after it opens.